Hey y'all, it's me, Danny Baby, coming live from Denver Community Media, sitting with a very talented, lovely, ethereal being in the studio with me today. And I'm just really, really grateful to have this conversation. So we're going to go ahead and get into our little moment of preparing for active listening. We're going to stim it out, make any noise movement you want to for a few moments, and ba-da-ta-ta, woo-woo, pow, and that's what I got. So who is next to me on the left here today?
Well, the person on the left is True Morse.
Yes.
I'm very excited to be here today and talking with you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
I'm very excited to see where the conversation leads today and where it
Okay.
ends up.
Awesome. Well, first off, I got to jump right into this because I'm this person. I had the honor of witnessing your magic on Friday, was it? Yeah, Friday at Lost Lake.
Oh, Saturday.
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 Okay, this is where my brain is at. But Saturday at Lost Lake, you and your bandmates, as well as just, quite honestly, the only Pride celebration that I was part of, or that I've been part of thus far. And honestly, the best experience I've ever had celebrating in Pride. But just, I just have to say, like, I was fan-humaning so hard watching you up there. I didn't even know how to behave. Just your essence and how you even move and work within the crowd, fans, just the event itself and the individuals there. And so I just wanted to give some honor where it's due, not just to like the musical portion, but the artist and the talent that goes behind encapsulating that whole moment. And you are chef's kiss. So
Thank you so much. That means so much to me.
Absolutely.
That's so kind.
Absolutely. So I would love to, I guess, really, I just want to know, how did you come about, being part of this band? Give us a little bit of a backstory, if you don't mind.
So for those who don't know, I play bass for Alana Mars. She's a local indie alt pop girly.
Mm-hmm.
She's a tour de force. I love her so much. She's a very dear friend. And before that, I was just a fan. I met her when Loewe actually played Globe Hall back in 2022.
Okay.
And I met her through a series of friends, and she said she was a musician, and so I just started checking her out.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was the current band we have, but our guitarist, Steve, was actually playing bass at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And in my brain, I was like, oh, he's the bass player. This is awesome. And I started going to the shows, almost every single one they had. If I wasn't working a show, I was trying to make one of their shows. And I was going to their shows for about a year. And then one day, it was Muna playing Mission Ballroom.
Okay.
And Alana and I texted each other at the same time. And we're like, hey, are you going to be at Muna tonight?
Mm-hmm.
And immediately we're both, yes, we're going to be there. And we met there. And the openers were this group called the Nova Twins.
Okay.
And their bass player, she is just all over the place and insanely talented. And we were trying to figure out what she was doing with her bass.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting so intrigued, and Alana was like, why are you so into this? And I said, oh, I'm a bass player. And I start pulling up pictures of my bass rig and my bass. And she said in that moment she had a light bulb click over her head. She had no idea I played bass. She brought it up with the band, and they had been looking for a bass player because Steve is an insanely talented guitar player, and him being on lead guitar is just life-changing. And so they were looking for a bass player at the time. And Alana the next day just texted me and was like, hey, let's be friends. Let's get coffee.
I like it. I'm pointing at you and you're my friend now.
Yeah, she very much kind of snatched me up from the air, and we went and got coffee, and I have no idea. I'm like, oh, like friendship time. And we sat for about an hour, and she was asking me like, so you're a musician? And I said, yeah. And we started talking about like how long I've been playing bass and stuff. And we talked about her musical journey. And I was like, super, we're friends. And then at the end, she was like, oh, by the way, would you like to join my band? And in my brain, I was like, what about Steve? Is Steve leaving the band? And she was like, no, Steve plays guitar. We need a bass player. And so I said, sure. And I sat in with them for one practice, and immediately everybody in the band was just super nice, super friendly, and it went very well, and the rest is history, and that was just over a year ago.
Okay, shoot. So you have actually made quite a few moves, like since meeting. You're already having shows. You had your EP release
Yes.
like a month ago, you were saying?
Yep, on May the 4th.
Okay.
So we did a little Star Wars theme that was also at Lost Lake, and the EP Alana's been working on for years now with a very talented producer named Ben Pisano, who he has his own project called Corsicana, which is also wonderful. You should check it out. But the EP is called The Prologue. It's on all streaming platforms by Alana Mars, and it's truly wonderful. She put a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and love into that piece.
Well, I could tell just from the stage presence, y'all took us on a journey. That's one thing I really appreciate about artists is like there was such a cohesiveness to your set, you know, and just the way that the candor existed from, you know, like being an observer for a moment and then getting on the stage and just, I don't know, you took me through a journey, and it was, I don't know, I think it was just absolutely what my spirit needed. And so I'm just still fan humaning. I don't really know how to be right now.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
It was such a joy seeing you there. And when we first connected, you just jumping right at it, being like, I'll come to the show. Come check it out.
Absolutely.
And that truly means a lot to me. And I told the band that you were going to be there and that we were going to do this this week. So they were super excited as well. So I really appreciate that.
Well, we're definitely going to be linking the music in because, hello, it's phenomenal. And one big thing, you know, I've been in like the Denver community music scene for a long time. I'm more of like an observer and a lover of the arts. It's been really hard to call myself an artist because my art form is honoring others' art forms.
Interesting.
So that's why I will go to all the shows, but I really, really love smaller shows and like that more intimate, not even that it has to be the beginning stages, but just like this is kind of like what we've worked our whole lives to get to, no matter how big that little stage could be, you know? And especially something so beautiful in the expression of all of your bandmates and just the freedom that they were existing in. It really left me like speechless and my whole joy enhanced. And so just to continue, I'm going to keep giving you honor as we go, but I don't think that a lot of people really know how much work goes into creating events. And so I'm going to backtrack the tiniest bit because we're going to come back to that events conversation. But just for a spell, sitting in that space, you know, where you got asked to be in this band and you were like, yay, this is a friend, kind of like fan humaning the band.
Yeah.
What would your younger self, you know, a single digit age younger self, what would that younger self be thinking about this version of self right now?
They'd be losing their mind.
Good.
At a very young age, watching my dad play bass in bands and stuff and just going, like my head would explode every time he'd get on stage. And so it was the 8th grade after we did like a talent show, and it was after the 8th grade talent show that I turned to my parents and I was like, I want to be a rock star. And that slowly evolved into me wanting to do more orchestral work and movie scoring. Kind of, it's been kind of this winding river of finding out where I want to be. And then for years, I was wanting to start another band, wanting to do it, but I didn't quite have the drive or find the right people that I wanted to really take it off with. And then suddenly, Alana just went, yoink.
I love that.
And it was this moment of just pure joy. And yeah, my kid self is definitely thriving on the inside right now as we do this.
That's a beautiful thing to say, because I don't think that, you know, like my generation and generations below mine, that we had a very much representation of what this looked like. You know, the dreams that were presented to us were more on the spectrum of like still a little bit like white picket fence, blah blah blah, and now it's like, okay, like you actually, like, it doesn't have to be this big scale thing. It can be these like achievements of like, oh, it would just be really cool to be in a band, and where it's taking you now. So thank you. That's so beautiful. All right, younger self.
Yeah.
I'm out here representing for you, baby. I love that. So
Yes.
moving into understanding that you wanted to be, you know, in somewhat of music, and then this is how I've learned of you, is I reached out to AEG because I just love the shows that keep getting brought to Denver. Like, the spectrum of them is all over the place, and like in one weekend there's like 15 events going on. So and it's really amazing because it's really catering to an entire community versus like, okay, we're just going to bring in this, you know, one genre. It's just across the board, and I'm really enjoying that, as well as like the venue spaces themselves. First and foremost, I've been experiencing firsthand like the safety that has been presented, especially, you know, with all the different types of folks that we have in the world. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's feeling very safe. I feel very like seen, protected, and safe, just entering these spaces. So then I feel more at ease to have a really good time. So anyway, I've been able to go to quite a few shows. I feel very honored that I've been able to have that opportunity. And so I reached out to AEG, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say names, so I'll say a very lovely human in one of the departments. I was looking for somebody that I could have, you know, in an episode, so that the community could maybe have like a more clear look at like what goes into planning events, or, you know, has somebody moved up in the company and you were highly recommended by someone, and I was like, oh my goodness, and you know, you responded, and that's how we got here today. And then I got to see you at a show, and now I really want to know how you got into the doors working with a company that a lot of their, you know, their drive is for the musical experience.
Yeah, so it actually all came from the pandemic,
Okay.
basically.
Thank you, viruses.
It was, yeah, out of a very unfortunate situation, you know,
Okay.
some opportunities bloom. And in 2020, I was in my senior year of college at the University of Kentucky
Okay.
doing music. I was playing bass in a symphony orchestra for the university, and I was really intent on moving to New York with a friend who wanted to do fashion.
Oh.
And we were going to go visit New York and scout it out on March 11th of 2020, the same week.
Wow. Didn't they shut us down around then?
Yeah, it was like the 13th that it shut down.
Okay.
And so it all kind of fell apart, and we got furloughed from the university. I had a job working at the Symphony Hall, doing box office sales, and just studying. And of course, a music degree through Zoom wasn't the most productive or easy thing to do. So I kind of took a back seat on that. And then my lease was ending, and I had a good friend who was supposed to teach English in Japan, and Japan shut everything down. So they were just kind of freaking out because they also had nowhere to go. I was just planning on moving home. And so they took a weekend to just reach out to fisheries in Alaska and state parks, anywhere that would house you while giving you employment.
Yeah.
And the first place they heard back from was the gondola in Telluride, Colorado. And they said, can you be here in 2 weeks? And they said, I don't have a car. And they said, do you know anyone with a car? Because we're trying to hire a lot of people right now. And so, Brian, they called me up and said, hey, do you want to move to Colorado in 2 weeks?
Wow.
And I said, sure, why not? And I called my parents and I said, hey, and they were fully on board.
Okay.
And so I did that for a season working on the ski resort. And then Denver was the closest city. And I came here and I didn't really know what to do. And I started applying to just any music or arts related job I could find. And I started out at the Arvada Center for the Arts, working the front desk there, which
I
was
love the humans over there. They're
Yes.
incredible people.
great team, beautiful
Yes.
team over there. And I did that for the first summer of 2021.
Okay.
And I had applied to AEG for a box office position
Okay.
right when I moved there in April. And then I didn't hear back until 3 months later. I got a call from the head of ticketing, and she was like, "Hey, are you still interested?" And I said, "Absolutely." And she said, "Okay, can you be here like Thursday at Fiddler's Green?"
Ooh.
And I think it was Cage the Elephant. They
Okay.
did like a long radio show where it's just like 6 bands over a full afternoon. And I was just thrown to the wolves in the box office. And within 2 hours, I was working a window and selling tickets. And I just watched somebody and then stepped in. And from there, the rest is history. I decided to leave the Arvada Center and go for AEG full time. They didn't have that opportunity yet for me at the time, but I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
Please.
You're gonna
please
make it
just
happen
let me
for
do
me.
something.
Yeah.
And I kind of just kept bugging and saying, "Hey, if you need shifts covered, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm free. I just quit my other job." And it was, it eventually came up that they needed somebody to answer the calls and do the customer service as we were opening shows back up. And it was, everybody needed to be vaccinated, wearing a mask and stuff. So it was a lot of support and a lot of people very angry with that policy. So I say now that my shoulders are much more sloped than when I first entered
I mean, a
Denver.
chuckle, but yeah.
Yeah, it was very, because it got to a point where I'd be on the phone, for 20 minutes or so, and somebody would just be yelling about me, it's unconstitutional and stuff, and it was just like, hey, this is, our accordance with state and federal law. This is a choice we're making, so we can bring back the arts and make it a safe and welcoming space. In this time of kind of great upheaval, everybody's unsure right now. It's been a chaotic almost 2 years at that point, year and a half at that point, and people want to go see music. It's a long time to go, especially for such a rich and vibrant arts and music center as Denver. I had just come here and I could already tell people were
Right.
biting at the bit to go and see bands live and see that experience. And it was something that I did that customer service for a while and just answering those calls day to day, Monday through Friday. And through all of that, I met so many people who were just so happy. They're like, all I need is my vaccination card. I'm wearing a mask. And I said,
Right.
yeah. And they said, oh, thank goodness. That's perfect. Like, I have that all ready to go. And we're like, super. We'll see you the night of the show.
Yeah.
Just here's the step-by-step. And we hope you have a good night. And part of doing that and going to shows, working shows in the box office as well, and stepping out after my shift and just watching the show, my attention kind of rapidly shifted from this kind of symphonic, more formal space to now whatever band's going to be there that night.
Yeah.
And just having no idea and just falling in love with so many different artists who I never would have heard of otherwise,
Right.
but now I'm being able to share that moment and standing around all these patrons who have come and, paid to come see this, also having that moment of just joy
Right.
of seeing music again. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I could see myself doing for the rest of my life. And I've slowly evolved through the company doing different things. And now I'm fully in the operations world
Okay.
of being on the floor, running the show, making sure people get in safely. They have their tickets
Thank
ready
you.
to go. Yeah, and they have a good night. We help out with anything that comes up, whether it's a medical need, whether it's something, their ticket's not showing up, but they bought through a reseller and it never got sent to them, stuff like that, and just making sure they get in, they see the show, and they have a good time, and they make it out safely, and they get home.
Absolutely. I mean, you all really do cover all the bases. There's been, like, many times where I was like around like a rowdy bunch. I typically go to shows by myself because I tend to get very overstimulated. I kind of need to stand in a corner, then come back out. And so, you know, I'm not a rager, if you will, but I'm an observer and I love it. And then I'll stim for a second and then I got to go.
Yeah,
But I can always tell that you have, you know, there's a team that has a great awareness. People are checking in on me and or if they notice that I'm overstimulated, like, do you have earplugs and things like that. So just the way that you all cater to that so people across the board can enjoy a show as well as just like the shows that you all do bring together. You were talking about like you would never have seen some of the acts that you've seen without maybe being in that. And same, like because live music was taken away for a while.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm constantly on AEG side or on, you know, Instagram, like what's the next show coming? Okay, when's this coming? Like, I'm like, I know months ahead of time. I know when the tickets are dropping because it's that important to me. It quite honestly is, you know, I guess like the experience that I need to continue understanding the phenomenon that it is to be human.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know how else to explain it. So with you moving up in the company, do you see yourself, is there any other areas that are interesting, you know, that you're interested in or within that? Or is it helping at the same time, the same question, is it also helping you navigate with your band a way to work more efficiently within promoting yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
So I love the questions you ask and how you kind of weave the conversation because every time you speak in between the pauses and stuff, I'm like, no, this is a really good point. So you just saying that, I got really excited.
Yay!
Because now being in the band, it's very much where we are now the artists coming in and playing a space, which is when I'm working, I'm helping out the artists and making sure they have everything they need, coordinating with our production team, making sure all that goes well, and then coordinating, finalizing, and payment at the end of the night, and being on that side, and now being in a band where it's like, okay, I know how I'm going to approach this because I know what the other side is doing right now. I know what they're going through, and it makes that a lot easier to approach, which is nice because everyone in the band is very specialized in different sections of the music world.
Right.
Steve, our guitarist, he's a wonderful photographer, and he does marketing promos for shows and builds the animations. And when you see those posts that come up where it's like live at Red Rocks and it's this big spiraling image, that's what he does. And then our drummer Nick, he's a sound engineer, so he runs sound at clubs around town in different venues.
Yeah.
And he's built his basement into like a mini studio, and he knows it all. And when we show up, he's already talking to, he knows a lot of the people working.
Yeah.
He already works there, and he just knows exactly what to pick up from, what to do. He knows the lingo, he knows the language, and he knows how to work that other side. And then Alana just does the business side. She is so business savvy. Her father was a really amazing just individual in the music world of booking that talent and doing that kind of creativity show throwing side.
Yeah.
And she is just like heralded so much of that and now is projecting that outwards, and it helps so much. So it's I'm in this very fortunate position where I see every day working with these very high-level artists who tour every year constantly. And a lot of them who now I've been doing this operations side for just over a year, and I've worked with the same bands now, where when they come back, I'm like, I'll work that one. And now establishing that relationship and knowing, hey, when and if we end up going on tour, it'll be nice to go to these venues and also make those relationships with these kind of individuals who are in similar positions around the country or around the world, wherever that ends up going. So it is a very nice dichotomy of being able to play both sides, but in reality, there aren't really sides to it because it's just such an industry that kind of revolves in a big swirling pot. Everything connects, everything interconnects. everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
And
I'm picking up on that the more I go out.
it's just, I've now, especially playing shows, I'm seeing coworkers who are like, why are you playing here? And I'm like, why are you here? And they said, oh, I also work here.
Okay.
And, you know, or they're just there for fun because they go and see other shows outside of work as well. And can also have that being like, I saw you when I was working this venue and now you're playing this venue. And that's so exciting. It's so much bigger, stuff like that. So it's a very cool position, and I'm really excited to see that grow as both sides of with the band and the music we're making, as well as with work and the music we're enabling.
Yeah, you are fully immersed in it.
Yes.
And that's just brilliant, you know. I think it's because the biggest portion that I think that I'm coming from is for years and years Denver was overlooked. It was like the big little city that, like, yeah, you get some like honky tonk out of there. And I'm like, what? There is so much talent in Denver, you know, across the board. We have really, you know, amazing hip hop artists. We have amazing country singers. We've got some incredible EDM artists. We've got some punk and indie that is just blowing up right now. And I'm like, they originate from here. Like their root system is here, or where they found their drive and their inspiration.
Yes.
You know, because I think that the market is really patient here too. Like folks are very kind. It's not like we're not a comparable bracket in my brain to like New York and LA. Because we're just like, there's a little bit more of like a humbleness here. And I don't mean humble as in the way that there's pride in humility. I mean that folks are just like willing to sit and converse with you and figure out where it is you want to go and how that they can be of more service. And then the community all steps in and they're like, oh, we're all just going to bring each other up.
Yeah.
And so there's just like a camaraderie here that I have been seeing more and more of, especially since COVID happened. And now all the artists are like, y'all, we just don't have it. We can't do it on our own now.
Yeah.
Like if this ever happens again, we have to have each other's backs and our interests in the same way, or being an earnest upholding for each other, because like that divided a lot of people. A lot of people had to walk away from their talents, you know? So just to, you know, even state that, and just your awareness around like the position you're in is really profound, because I don't think that a lot of folks had maybe the willingness to, or the wherewithal, as well as the foundation of friendship or the links that you had to continue making that happen for themselves. So it's just amazing to see that you're like, okay, I went this way and now I'm going to go this way. And your younger self is freaking out because it just continues realigning, and you're like, or continue aligning even further. And now you're kind of setting up like this really cool structure for someone else to follow, or for someone else to be encouraged by. And it's no little thing, friend. Like what y'all are doing is really amazing. The young people, just all the people that I witnessed, just watching you all with a sparkle in their eye, but you knowing like every single one of the band members brings something so profound to the table that makes this happen. And you know, somebody could go into a show and be like, oh, it's so easy to put that together. That shit is not easy.
I feel very fortunate that I came in to the band, like, as they're, like, zooming down the landing strip.
Yeah.
Like, everybody was biting at the bit at that moment. And we played UMS, like, a month after I joined.
Okay.
And it was like this big moment for everyone. And now since then, we've all just, obviously, I don't know how things were very much before I entered the band, because they've been playing together for years. And especially Katie and Alana have been playing music together in various groups for, I think, 6 or almost 7 years now. And they're both, like, their energy together is incredible. And they used to be in a band called Sister Neapolitan.
Okay.
And it's so nice to go and listen back to that music sometimes, because I'm like, wow, they've had it.
Yeah.
They've had it
And they invited
for
us.
so long.
Yeah.
And now we're able to do this as kind of this larger group where everybody is just so invested and ready to go, ready to bite at the bit and try new stuff. So we're really excited to be in that position. And especially, as you were saying, the support from the community is immense. The minute I told, friends and coworkers, I was like, hey, I joined a band. Everybody was like,
where can we see
wait,
you?
yeah, when's it going to be? And we did UMS, and a ton of coworkers showed up for that. Ones I didn't even know knew about it. And we're just so excited because everybody else is also working on their projects, whether it be music or arts in the general or something else entirely. And everybody is just so excited to see, the people around them succeed.
Absolutely.
And it's been really nice to meet people as well and see them just take off and spread their wings. And
all from accepting a
special
position
place.
and from Kentucky to here. I really love that.
It's the word serendipitous.
Yeah, I still use it.
Yeah. I was ready for myself to just trip over that, and it just blew it out. But
You did great.
we did it. Thank you. But yeah, it's this. I think back on it a lot because now I'm so much. I'm like, this is my life. This is my day to day. And when I look back on everything that had to happen to get me to this place, there's a lot of bad and a lot of good, and a lot of love and support the entire way through. And now I'm just in a place where I'm like, I'll be in Denver forever.
I love that.
I could be living in this same area around City Park for the rest of my life, working at the Bluebird or the Ogden or wherever. The Bluebird is such a wonderful venue.
I think it's my favorite venue of Denver, to be honest.
I hear that a lot, which is it's so nice because that was like the first venue I worked when I started in operations, and I just was doing 10 shows a month there every month for a while before I started working the Gothic as well. And now when I do work the Bluebird, it's just this nice release of I walk in and I go, I know the sound's going to be amazing.
It is.
Yeah, I know the ambience is going to be great. We just put in new lights that can like do rainbow patterns and stuff. So that's lovely. And I know that the band is just going to be overjoyed. So many people just come and play that room and go, wow, this was very cool.
I've seen some incredible shows there. I have to say, one of my favorite shows that I've seen was for Neptune's album release.
That was a very fun show.
Oh my gosh. Like when the way the community will come out too, when they have somebody from their state doing, and you see these accomplishments. It's not, and that's another cool thing about Denver is when somebody's on the come up, it's not like we did it up by ourselves. It's like, it wasn't possible without you all being here, and they always give that honor. But Neptune and Rusty Steve, just some incredible people. Their backup dancers are just the sweetest folks. I think Squizzy Taylor actually did
Squizzy.
was their DJ for the night. But that was one of my favorite shows. Still to this day, I'm just like, wow, magic. Like, and I know this person. Like, I hug you, you're my friend. But like, when you're up there, that's another caliber,
For sure.
And then I just got to see Aniko and Mayada coming through.
Oh, gotcha.
That show was incredible. And just like let me derail for a second. When COVID was happening, I saw Aniko on TikTok. And I was like, this ethereal human, I was discovering so many things about myself. And I think that just seeing them in their essence existing and going from like being in this tiny little bedroom, just like, making music or out in the field or whatever they were doing, frolicking and then like talking wisdom. They were literally like right there. They were singing into my phone. And I was like, that's what AEG brought in, like that wasn't a childhood dream for me. That was just like, I became many versions of myself through COVID and then coming out of it. Like I would have never thought myself to be this person. And now I get to be in the graces of witnessing two of my favorite artists together on the stage, like salivating.
Yeah.
It was incredible. So that's what I appreciate the Bluebird for, is that, like, yes, it'll bring in bigger names, or like names that are just like on tour, versus like it will give back to its city every time. And that's what I really appreciate. So are we going to see you on that stage?
That's the dream.
I know that's right.
That's
Woo!
the first practice I had with Alana and co was just like talking about the band and stuff. And then it might have been that practice or the next practice that it was like, oh, True, like, what do you do? I was like, oh, I actually, work for AEG and I do this.
And they
and
want.
Yeah, and I said, oh, and I work the Bluebird. And Alana immediately was like, how do we play the Bluebird? And I said, I don't know. I said, we just got to play and wait for someone to go, hey, you could be a good support slot or something like that.
Absolutely.
So
Now you got
that's the dream.
The hamster on the wheel here.
Now,
Yes.
So
Okay.
now I see all these bands come through, and I talk to them, and so many of these artists, especially at a room like the Bluebird, where it's our smallest venue that AEG runs in Denver.
Okay.
And so it's where our first-time artists come through, unless it's like Olivia Rodrigo playing Mission Ballroom,
right,
her
okay.
first tour, because she's just that big at that point. But yeah, a lot of these bands will come through, and a lot of them will play the Bluebird once, and the next time you see them, they're at the Gothic or the Ogden, and they're just on their feet running. But then we get some legendary bands like Devotchka does 3 nights every December.
Okay.
And I got lucky enough to work their one last December, and that was just incredible, magical. And it's so cool to see those bands who just want to come back to the Bluebird.
Right.
They could move up if they
They're
wanted.
like, no, we prefer the sound,
Yeah.
the essence.
It's a historic, it's 110 years old. It's been through so many different like lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. And especially the green room, which is,
I've yet to be back there one day.
it's my first time down there, I was like, wow, this is very small. And the walls are covered with signatures of almost every single act that's played there. The first one I saw actually was Ed Sheeran, which in my brain I was like, that's
That's crazy.
That's not possible.
I would have never thought.
Yeah. And then like Men I Trust, there's so many bands down there because everybody started at the Bluebird when they came through, unless they were playing rooms like the Summit or Marquee and stuff. Those
Cervantes.
Cervantes.
I love me some Cervantes too.
I love that ballroom
I
on
do
the other
too.
side. It's such a nice little dichotomy there.
It is, especially when they have both running, because then there's an area for me to go and be in my stimulation corner.
For sure.
But I love the multiple rooms. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're
Yeah.
totally
Just
fine.
the signatures and just like, I feel like we could continue going on and on. I'm just feeling like this flow here, which means that you'll be in high demand to come back. And maybe we can get a band member in here and we can learn more about y'all.
That would be lovely.
Okay.
I know Alana especially. She's such a wonderful human being and such just a joy to be around, and she also just has so many good insights. I personally, I am very biased, but I think she'd be a wonderful
Well, I like
guest to
it.
bring on here.
Now I know. So probably the next time we sit down, there's going to be and I just have a feeling that there's going to be potential of shows that are coming in circulation, and maybe that Bluebird slot is going to hit. So do you have anything coming up soon, like in the next month, that y'all are performing, or a place that we can find some of that information?
So yeah, the place to find where we post where we're going to play is Alana's Instagram, Alana Mars Music.
Okay.
It's all her platforms are that Alana Mars Music. And she's got a link tree on there as well that shows Apple Music, Spotify, all that stuff. And she loves to post on there all of our shows coming up and her stories updated almost every day.
Okay.
And our next show is going to be at High Dive
I
on July
love
10th.
the high dive too.
Honestly, favorite room to play in Denver.
It's a great spot
Yeah.
too. Oh my gosh, and it's next to my favorite vegan spot,
Sputnik. Yeah. We get Sputnik every time we play there.
Okay, so
good.
I'm sorry, what day is that?
So
Or what date?
Wednesday, July 10th,
Okay.
and it's with Sarah Shook.
Okay.
So we are very excited. We're direct support for it.
Okay.
We're still figuring out what set we're going to do, because
Okay.
we like to do, when we're opening for someone, we like to see what their style of music is and then do a little, blend of that style.
Okay.
Our last High Dive show, we opened for Lola Kirk.
Okay.
And so that was super country crowd. So we wore our Best Western formal.
Okay.
And we covered an old cowboy country blues song to start the set, and then went into our normal repertoire.
Okay.
So we're going to meet and figure out, what we're going to do for this show.
Okay.
And switch it up a little bit.
July 10th, you're going to
Yeah.
see me there.
Oh,
And can
that
I
would
get
be
tickets
lovely.
through, obviously through Alana's Instagram?
Yeah. So
Okay.
a lot of it, she'll post her Venmo or just the ticket link or something.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
we
that fee
collect
free is
receipts.
nice. I'm not going to
It
lie. I
is
like
very
that
nice.
fee free.
Yeah. I love
Okay.
that so many of the Denver buyers and promoters and venues allow the artists to do that. Hey, if you Venmo me directly, there's no taxes,
Yeah.
no fees, and any time in advance.
Yeah.
So it's a very nice way to especially mobilize the friends and family to be like, hey, it's fine. You don't have to go through Ticketmaster or any of that.
Yeah,
Just
and you're
Venmo
directly
me.
supporting
Yeah.
me,
Directly supporting the artist.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really love that. Okay, so July 10th at High Dive, which is on Broadway. I think it's like Broadway and Ellsworth almost.
Yes.
Look at me.
You got that.
I do.
You got that locked down.
I do. I've been on these streets, okay?
For sure.
So it was a brilliant conversation that you have brought forth today, as well as I want to give so much appreciation for you creating space and time for this, because we barely met, and it's just like, hey, I'm gonna throw you in there, and you were so willing, and it's been so lovely. But before we wrap up, after hearing all of these accolades and all these brilliant spaces that you've entered and left, and where you see yourself going, what would you say, as the person you are right now in this chair, what would you say to that younger person that was talking to you earlier?
First, you're trans. That would be the first thing. Like, figure it out early. Come on, wake up. So first that, and then I'd tell them, hey, keep doing the music. There were many times as a child growing up and stuff where I was very ready to put that music and arts and all those kind of now more ADHD, like things that I wanted to snap to and do.
Right.
And go for either a more STEM route and stuff like that, which nothing wrong with that at all. But I always felt that drive for music. And I did stunt myself a few times just by, not going for that opportunity, or saying no, or holding back to a lot of things and not taking those risks. And I know every choice I made along that path led me to sitting here talking to such a wonderful human being right now, giving me this opportunity and establishing, another relationship in this
Absolutely.
community. So I wouldn't say, hey, change all this, but I'd say, take those risks and put that passion forward, and don't be afraid to create something that feels uncomfortable.
Can you say that one more time, though?
And don't be afraid to create something that's uncomfortable. Dive into that feeling, explore it, don't hurt yourself. Don't get stuck below those waves, don't get caught in the riptide. Make sure you have a rope or a life vest, but explore that and see where it leads you, and see how you wake up the next day, and think about how you did that differently, and how it might open paths for the way you write, create, or maybe just interact with the world around you. It's those moments and taking those risks that I believe is some of the most beautiful art and senses of being come from.
I need a second. Were you talking to my inner child? Because they needed to hear that. Thank you. Thank you for that
course.
reflection and letting us join you in the parallel of communicating with your younger self.
For sure.
You know, because they still
Of course.
exist. They're
Yeah.
there. They're
in
how
there.
we, yeah, they're how
in
we
there.
got here. You
Yeah.
know, and they need a little bit of tender attention. And so, and a lot of times, you know, when we don't have like the parent role always around us, we get to do that for ourselves. And so, just giving yourself some honor today and hearing how much affection you have for that version of self is really, really beautiful. And that younger you is going to be like screaming soon while you way up on that stage, honey.
Well, thank you.
This is just, thank you. Your earnest heart space sharing with me today, coming, I try not to say so much in vulnerability because I think, you know, sometimes that word gets overused or like used at an interesting time, but just thank you so much for coming in such an open way and allowing the conversation to flow, and you had no knowledge of what we were even going to talk about.
I love that. You're a phenomenal conversationalist. And, you know, you never know how a conversation is going to go. But the way you warmed up and are just open about what this entails, and even from your first email, I was like, this sounds really interesting. And you seem like an incredibly complex and interesting person.
Yeah.
So I very much appreciate it. And I was nervous today. I was drinking coffee at work,
Yeah.
you know, really typing through and being like, what is going to happen?
Yeah.
What's this going to be like? But sitting down with you here today has been truly wonderful. And I feel very comfortable to open up to those topics that with another interviewer, who knows?
Right.
That might never happen. So I appreciate you welcoming me in today with such open arms and an open heart. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, we're gushy.
yeah.
Y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. This is just, again, I'm just like graced with getting to learn more about my community, the ethereal folks that are in it, as well as just recognizing that I'm not alone. You know, I think that I kind of go into these instances where I'm hyperverbal and then I'm nonverbal, and then it makes me feel very alone. And just getting to sit with you today really just like enhanced my awareness around the fact how connected we all really are.
Yes.
And you even brought that connection, even more awareness with me getting to witness your art form on Saturday, which I will witness again on July 10th, y'all.
Yes. Hope to see you there.
Oh, you
I'll be
finna
so
see
excited.
me there. You will
Yes,
see me
yes,
there.
yes.
So with that being said, y'all, I hope this resonated. I'm not out here trying to do that toxic encouragement thing, and this is all how it should go, and this is what success looks like. This is just what it can be when you decide to give your inner child a little bit of attention and acknowledge where you've come from. And so getting to sit with True today has been an incredible experience. I know that we're going to hear back from you. It's going to be more conversations to
100%,
be
yes.
had. And so with that, I say, remember and continue to create earnestly in love. We'll talk soon, y'all. Bye.